The Food and Drug Administration says some vials of Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine contain extra doses. Hospitals were initially told there should be a maximum of 5 doses per vial, but found in many cases enough for up to 2 more. The FDA says these extra doses can be used. The surplus could reportedly expand the national supply by up to 40%. The same advisory panel that recommended approval of Pfizer's vaccine to the FDA voted today to recommend Moderna's candidate for emergency use authorization. That vaccine could roll out as early as next week. Dr. Wafaa El-Sadr is a professor of epidemiology and medicine at Columbia University and the director of the Global Health Initiative at Columbia's Mailman School of Public Health. Doctor, welcome. Thank you very much for joining us. Why were these extra doses being discarded, and what could be the immediate impact on supply?
I think this is great news that we learned that there's the possibility of having additional doses in each vial, because as you know, we have such high demand for these vaccines, while at the same time we have limited supply at present. So any way in which we can increase the supply can only advance the efforts to reaching as many people as possible who need to be vaccinated. It appears that this happened because of just the way the vials are produced, and I think the guidance from the FDA to the pharmacist advising them that they can utilize the extra doses within a vial can go a long way to reaching more people who need the vaccine at this point in time.
Well, the FDA could give Moderna's vaccine emergency use authorization as soon as Friday. How is this vaccine different from Pfizer's?
The Moderna vaccine is actually quite similar to the Pfizer vaccine. They use the same technology, and this is a new technology, and it uses something called the messenger RNA, which is a synthetic material that's injected as part of the vaccine, and it stimulates the body, or stimulates the cells in the body to actually produce one of the proteins similar to the one on the virus, and therefore it again stimulates the immune system in the person who received the vaccine to produce antibodies to protect against the infection. So they have a very similar technology. They use very similar methods in terms of their preparation. I think the one distinction between the two is that the Pfizer vaccine should be administered on day 1 and day 21, while the Moderna vaccine also needs 2 doses, one on day 1 and one on day 28. And then another difference is that the Pfizer vaccine needs to be kept at a much lower temperature than the Moderna vaccine. But other than that, they seem to be quite similar. As well as also the data we have seen in terms of how well these vaccines work and the safety profile also tell us that these vaccines are also quite similar in terms of what we call their efficacy as well as also their safety.
Well, health officials in the UK issued a warning that people with a history of severe allergies should not get Pfizer's vaccine due to risk of anaphylaxis. Is that a concern with Moderna's vaccine?
Well, I think in the data that we've seen from the Moderna studies and similarly from the Pfizer studies did not show this kind of severe allergic reaction. But however, we know from other experiences that you might see new reactions once you use the vaccine much more broadly, meaning once you vaccinate many more people, you might discover some very rare side effects. So I think it behooves people who have a history of allergy to, of course, severe allergy, and it's important to use the term severe allergy, is that such individuals should, of course, discuss this with their provider, and then if they choose to get the vaccine, they should be observed for at least half an hour in a clinical setting. That's really important it's important for everyone who receives the vaccine to be observed for about 15 minutes. But for those who have a history of severe allergy, it really is wise to be observed for about 30 minutes or so.
Well, today, California reported over 52,000 new coronavirus cases. In Southern California, there are less than 2% of ICU beds available. Over 300,000 doses of Pfizer's vaccine arrived this week, with more on the way. When will we start to see situations like what's happening in California start to ease up?
I think it's hard to really predict, but I think most of us, most epidemiologists and most infectious disease people would say it's going to take several weeks, if not months, until we see the impact of these vaccines. And I think that's why it's very important in the meantime that people don't let go of their caution. We have to continue, all of us, whether we've received the vaccine or not, we have to continue to adhere to the preventive measures like the wearing the mask or face covering and the distancing and all the other preventive measures. These are here to stay for the foreseeable future until we can get enough uptake, enough coverage with these vaccines so that we can have the majority of the population be protected at that point in time. So for the foreseeable future, I think as we increase the numbers of people who get the vaccines, really critical that we continue to observe all of these preventive measures.
It's an important message. Well, Vice President Mike Pence will publicly get vaccinated tomorrow. President-elect Joe Biden is set to do so next week. Do these high-profile people getting vaccinated impact public perception in your experience?
I think in many ways we have experienced that such public, either public testing or receiving the vaccine can be a positive move because obviously when people see prominent individuals that they respect receiving the vaccine, this gives them confidence again, in the safety and the efficacy of the vaccine itself. I do think we need to think about how can we really tackle the disparity in terms of vaccine hesitancy amongst different subgroups in our population. And I'm particularly concerned about amongst African American community, amongst individuals from the Latinx community. And we need to also reach out to these communities and answer their questions, assuage their anxiety, try to build the trust, find the champions from within these communities who might be willing to be vaccinated publicly, because I think that can really help us in reaching everybody who needs to be vaccinated.
Dr. Wafaa El-Sadr, Doctor, we're really grateful to have your insight and expertise. Thank you very much.
Thank you.